So if you come from a Flash and ActionScript background, there are several libraries available that actually make it easier for you to target HTML5. And the best, and the one I'm going to talk about here, is called Create.js. And this is created by Grant Skinner, who's a very well-known developer in the Flash community. And Create.js is essentially a suite of JavaScript libraries that make it very similar to Flash to do interactive experiences in HTML5. If you go to createjs.com, you can look at what those are. Again, Create.js is the suite of these libraries. Easel.js is the core, and it's essentially a JavaScript library that makes targeting the HTML canvas really simple, and the API is very similar to what you're used to in Flash. There's also Tween.js, which is a tweening library. Sound.js, which actually eliminates a lot of the inconsistencies found with HTML5 audio. There's Preload.js for loading and managing assets into your application, and also a sprite sheet editor called Zoe. And what we're going to focus on in this movie is Easel.js. So you can actually click on Download Easel.js. There's a couple of different options. You can either go through GitHub, you can download it directly, or you can use the CDN, which is a content delivery network. That's what we're actually going to use. And I'm going to copy this latest one from the CDN, and that's what we're going to use in our project. So I'm going to go over to Sublime Text. And in our basic document here, what I'm going to do is to first import that Easel.js JavaScript file. So I'm going to put in a script tag, put in my source attribute. I'm going to paste in that CDN link. So I'm loading that Easel.js, the latest version from the CDN. Now I have this file saved on my desktop as demo.html, and I have that rusty.jpg image also on my desktop that you can get from the exercise files. So what I need to do here is create a few global variables, and there's going to be 3 of them. The first is the actual canvas element that we're going to be drawing into. The next is the stage element, so very similar to the Flash display list. There's a stage object in Easel.js. And then we're going to hold a reference to our bitmap that we're going to load in of Rusty. So down below, let's go ahead and create our canvas element. I'm going to give this an ID of canvas. We're going to give it a width of 800, a height of 600. And we'll go ahead and close the canvas tag here. And we'll just put canvas is not supported. Okay, so in my initialization function, let's go ahead and get a reference to our canvas. So canvas is equal to document.get element by ID, canvas. And now we need to create a new stage object based on our canvas. And again, stage is a class that's specific to Easel.js. But I'm going to say stage is equal to new stage, and we pass in the canvas element that we actually want to draw into, which we are holding in that variable called canvas. Now we need to actually set up a couple of things about Easel.js. The first is the frame rate that I want to run on, and we use the ticker class, and we actually call the static method setFPS. And I can pass in a frames per second here. I'm going to put it at 60 frames per second. Similar to how we have in Flash with an onEnterFrame event, Easel.js contains a tick function which will be called on every frame. We can choose where we want to listen for that. Or I'm going to listen for it directly here in my JavaScript. So I'm just going to say ticker, and then we're going to say add listener, and I'm just going to say this. This means that Easel.js is going to be expecting there to be a tick function here in my global JavaScript. So I'll create that right now. So now this will mean that this tick function is going to be called on every frame. Okay, so now I want to set up my bitmap, which is essentially going to be that rusty.jpg. So I'm going to say BMP is equal to new bitmap. And here I can just pass in the URL to the image, which is rusty.jpg. So now if I want to, say, manipulate this bitmap, let's say I want to rotate it around, similar to how we have in Flash, we need to set its registration point so that actually the animation will happen from the center of the bitmap. So to do that, we can set the regex and reg-y properties. So regex, I'm going to put it in the center of the image, which is 250. Reg-y is going to be 200. Now let's go ahead and set the x and the y property of the bitmap and place it directly in the center of our canvas. So x is going to be 400. Y is going to be 300. And very similar to Flash display list, we need to actually add this bitmap to our display list and to our stage. So we're going to say stage.addChild BMP. So now down in the tick function, what we're going to have to do is anytime we make any changes to elements that are on our easel.js stage, we need to call the stage.update method. This will tell easel.js to, hey, you need to repaint the canvas because I've actually changed some stuff on it. And all I'm going to do in the tick function is to say bmp.rotation plus equals, well, let's just add 2 to it on every tick. So let's save that now, go over to Chrome. Let me actually open that file now. And now you can see we have our rusty JPEG on our canvas, and on every tick, it's actually rotating around. And you can see how easy that was and how Flash-like that actually was to do. Whereas we're creating a stage object, we're setting its frames per second, we're creating a bitmap object, setting its registration point, adding it to the display list, and then on our tick, which again you can think of as similar to an onEnterFrame event, we're just rotating this image around. And there's a whole bunch of useful APIs in easel.js for things like handling sprite sheets, again, which is going to be a really important thing if you're looking to build, let's say, games using easel.js. So in the next movie, I'm going to show you a new feature of Flash Professional CS6, which actually allows you to export timeline animation from Flash and target Create.js with it.